Oh,
We've got some folks joining right now. So I'm going to start the live. So
somebody else is connecting. Oh, okay. Did you say something, Erin?
I just wanted to see if you could hear me, and now I think I unmuted myself. So hi, everyone.
Hello.
hello. So I'm Jennifer. I'm going to start the Facebook Live so we can get started in just a couple minutes. So I'll just hand it over to you. We're ready when you are. It's I'll let you know when the live's up.
Okay. It's our first time doing it on live, so we're figuring this out as we go. Is it live right now?
Not yet. I'll tell you as soon as it's ready. Okay.
Yeah, because yesterday I was able to see it on the screen. Hi, Joanna.
Hi, Jenny.
How are you?
Good. Just eating. That's why I don't have my video up.
No worries. It's okay.
Sorry.
Okay. It should be. Okay. We're streaming live.
All right. All right. Should we just wait a few minutes for more people to come on? Should we just start?
Yeah. Welcome, everybody, and welcome on Facebook and also within the Zoom. We'll get started in a minute. And I could see us on the live, so we're in live.
Okay, I see it now too. Okay, turn off my volume. Cool. Okay.
We got a couple people on live as well.
Okay, cool. All right, so we'll just get started then. So hello, everybody. Jennifer Ramirez here. In case, for those of you who do not know, Jennifer Ramirez, founder and executive director of &Rise, and thank you guys all so much for being here with us today. Very excited. So wanted to talk a little bit more about &Rise. &Rise is a nonprofit organization that helps women to grow to their ultimate potential no matter what adversities they have faced. So as you can see on the screen, one of the logos of &Rise is &Rise. The "and" stands for your story is not over, there's still more to tell. And the rise means just rising above any adversities that you are currently facing or have faced in the past and just overcoming them, overcoming those adversities and being the best version of yourself. And as you can see too, this is one of the logos, and one of it is share your story, build your future. So with that being said, we're gonna do guest intros right now, or should we just pass that part? So then, LaTonya.
Sure, if people want to go around and just say their name and what brought them here today, great. Yeah. And folks on Facebook, if you'd like to just share on Facebook.
Okay. Joanna, if you want to go first, you can go ahead. Just so we're just tell us a little, tell us your name and what brought you to this event today. It's okay if you don't have the camera on, don't worry about it.
Yeah, my name is Joanna Ortiz. I'm just here to support you, Jenny, and to hear what everyone has to say and just to learn. That's what I'm here.
Thank you. And Erin, you can go next.
Hi, I'm Erin Minkley, and I'm here to talk a little bit about what it's like to be a mom and own a business. Also a single mom, and so lots of challenges that come with that, but always happy to share my story with other people, and glad to meet all of you guys on the panel.
You too. Very excited to have you here. Thank you. And then Andrea, please go ahead too. I think you're muted right now though.
Hi everyone, my name is Andrea Sreshta. I'm one of the co-founders of LuminAID. We make portable solar lighting for outdoor recreation and humanitarian aid. So our lights have been used all over the world by people either on camping trips or after natural disasters, including hurricanes, earthquakes, and then also in refugee camps. And we're 10 years into having come up with our invention. And so we've been running the business for a time, like a good while now. So just like living, I think the challenges that is being a female entrepreneur and a small business owner.
Thank you. I'm so excited to hear more. I was on the website earlier and I was like, oh, I can't wait to hear her talk more about it. And then LaTonya, if you want to go.
Yeah, so I'm LaTonya and LaTonya Wilkins, and I'm a speaker and coach and do a lot of things with organizations, creating meaningful awareness and change. And I'm here for community. I think it's during these times, community is important. And so I'm here with Jennifer today to try to promote that. And I'm interested in hearing from the other entrepreneurs and other folks today.
All right, thank you guys. Hopefully we'll get some more people to join a little later. So to tell you guys a little bit more about myself and how And Rise all started. So I am a sexual abuse survivor, and I also am a single mother. I've been a single mother pretty much since pregnancy, and it really inspired me to make a lot of changes in my life. So being a single mother was very hard on me financially, emotionally. I had to do it all by myself. And I didn't realize that a lot of the decisions that I had made in my life as a young adult were results of my trauma. And it wasn't until I started going to therapy that I started realizing, you know, all the decisions that I had made. And I made a lot of bad decisions and I did a lot of dumb things. I mean, we all do dumb things when we're young, you know, but I struggled a lot because of those bad decisions, and I wanted to make a change in my life. And there was a point in time where things had gotten so bad financially that I was living in a really bad neighborhood in Chicago. It was very gang infested. There was a gang war going on, and I got to the point where I didn't even want to like leave my house because I was scared something was going to happen to me or my daughter. And I was like, there has to be a better way. I have to change my life. I have to do something. And I started going back to school, moved out of that neighborhood. I started just changing the way I thought. I was a very negative person. I was very angry for a long time, and that was a lot because of a lot of the things I went through. I felt like I was a victim. All the time I had that victim mentality, and then I had to get out of that. And I made a lot of decisions. You know, I made a decision to go back to school. I made the decision eventually to stop dating altogether because I was in a lot of toxic relationships that really affected me like emotionally and mentally. And I knew that I had to make change, and I wanted a better life for my daughter and myself. So I went to school, and also as a result of being a single mother, I got into $25,000 of credit card debt, which was super hard, and I didn't know anything about interest and all that stuff back then, so I didn't know that I was just paying interest and interest and interest and not ever paying down with my cards, you know. So I finally started just doing different things, you know. So I by the time I was 30, I was 100% debt free. I got myself out of debt, and that allowed me, since I didn't have those credit card payments anymore, it allowed me to do other things with my money. So I started saving it, and then I started investing in real estate. And I started investing, you know, putting my money into stocks and just doing my research and learning new things of how to not be broke anymore, because I was so broke and it was really hard. But that was also my motivation to get out of that. I never wanted to be in that position again. Long story short, I'm just finishing up school. I'm finally graduating this year. We're graduating next week, online graduation. I sold my first condo that I bought, and I was able to quit my job in March. And here I am doing all these things, and I want to help women. I found my passion. This is something I'm passionate about doing, and it means the world to me. And I love just helping women, and through my story of pain and struggle, and just to show women that you can get out of whatever rut you're in. And just because you're a single mother, or you're, you know, the government or whoever statistics tell you you're supposed to be a failure at life because you had a kid out of wedlock, I think that that's complete BS. And I don't think it's right that, you know, they tell us that, because it can get into people's heads. And I want to be a person to help women see that there's, you know, you can get out of that, and you don't have to be a statistic, and you can make your own dreams come true, whatever that dream may be, you know. And you have to want it yourself, though. You know, you can have people in your life to push you, but you have to want it, and you have to work for it. So my why for starting And Rise is to help women who feel hopeless, alone, and lost, and helping them realize their value and potential. Through my story and all of my struggles that I encountered and I overcame, I want other women to know that everything's possible through, you know, the right mindset, hard work, and determination. And like I just said, that change starts with you, but you have to be open and receptive to change, and you have to want that change in your life. So And Rise mission is that we empower all women of all ages, colors, creeds, and backgrounds to embrace the best versions of themselves. And we give them the tools that they need to overcome personal adversities, and a changed mindset on how to view life and themselves, which is very important. You can't go through being negative and expecting great things to happen. So here's what we do. We do personal and professional development workshops. Like so, this one would be considered a professional development, because we have a panel of experts here that are giving great content. I also do women empowerment events, and I support and collaborate with women-owned businesses, and we do support circles for domestic and sexual abuse survivors. So these are more intimate group settings, just so women can have that safe space where they feel safe to talk about whatever it is that they have gone through or are going through, and no judgment-free zone. And most importantly, we empower women to be the ultimate versions of themselves. And as you can see here, the picture on the screen is actually the last in-person event that I was able to do in February. It was our Galentine's brunch, and it was amazing. And the theme was like a Valentine's theme, and it was loving your authentic self. And a lot of these women were are trauma survivors, and they were there to support each other. And it was a beautiful, very powerful event. And they're not just smiling because we told them to smile for the camera, they're smiling because that's really that was the vibe in the room. Like that, everybody was just so supportive of one another, and it was just an eye-opening event, and I'm very proud of that. So, and how we give back, we provide financial assistance for single mothers with helping with tuition, supplies, and childcare, so that mom can go to school and not have to worry about that part, because that's something that I struggled with. And then providing sexual and domestic abuse survivors with therapy and counseling for free, because therapy has helped me personally. And I feel like in order to be that best version of yourself, you have to overcome those personal things that hold you back, that might, just hold you back internally and mentally. But right now, I'm actually currently focusing on women that have been affected by COVID-19. As we know, a lot of women have lost their jobs, or have gotten their hours cut, or are being furloughed, and they're being affected by this, and they need assistance financially. So I want to be able to provide that to them. And here's how you can help. You can donate. We have a GoFundMe page. That is the link right there. I can also put the link in the comments. And we also partnered with One Hope Wine. They're a super awesome company. They've given back $5 million to different charities, and I like them because each bottle of wine that you purchase, it's specific to a certain cause. So, for example, if you buy a bottle of Merlot, that bottle goes to cancer survivors, and if you buy a bottle of Moscato, that goes to providing clean water to a village that might not have clean water. And then on top of it, whatever profits And Rise gets 10% of the profits. So you're donating to causes, which is pretty awesome. And then also, so if you donate, or if you come to any of our events, your money goes back to women in need. And I'm not a for-profit company, so it doesn't go in the CEO's pocket. When you purchase a ticket through And Rise, your dollars go to women in need. So keep that in mind. And if you cannot donate, totally understand, no pressure, but a way you can help is through telling your friends about Ann Rise, and we provide resources to women that need help. I am here to help. I love helping women. It's my passion. And you can also help with just sharing your social media pages, and that's it, or in becoming a volunteer, because I'm actually looking for volunteers right now. And here's how to get in touch with us. You can visit www.womenrisechicago.org, and I have all of our upcoming events there as well. And if you're interested in volunteering or have any questions, reach me directly at jennifer@womenrisechicago.org. And you can follow us on social at Women Rise Chicago, and that's both through Instagram and Facebook. And that is it. So, next what we'll do, I'll actually, hi Jennifer. So next what we will do, since we already did intros, okay, I'll just introduce our next guest. So Andrea, this is Andrea, she's the co-founder of LuminAID. She was featured on Shark Tank and got a deal with Mark Cuban, which I think is super cool. I'm super excited to hear her talk. So without further ado, I present to you Andrea Sreshta. I think I said it right. Hold on. Can you?
There we go.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks for having me. It's actually really good to connect and learn more about Ann Rise. And I, as like somebody who's sort of like lived the life the last 10 years of running LuminAID, I now more than ever sort of really feel the need to be, to sort of be out there talking about what I believe is like really inspiring about being an entrepreneur, because I think that there's also just a lot of people who are probably thinking about how they can make their own luck and want to work hard. And I think that's really just like sort of what running your own business is about. And so I just support it like 100%. And then in terms of LuminAID's story, however, it's a little bit, it was almost like an accident. So my business partner and I were in school, and this was a long time ago. Like I said, it was 10 years ago. It was just after the earthquake in Haiti. We were design students. So we were just thinking through what could we make that could help people in that situation. Of course, you know, they had so many things happen after that earthquake. People had medical emergencies and a whole like range of things, bad things, obviously. But we also realized that Haiti was a place that had a lot of sun, and then they didn't have electricity after dark. So we thought about solar lighting as a solution that could help people feel safe after dark, or have to not rely upon candles and kerosene lanterns, which are really dangerous and toxic, and a lot of children in the world suffer burns from the use of those lamps. And so our big idea was to make compact solar lighting so that people after situations like that, or even just in general, anybody who needed a better source of light and a more sustainable source of light could have solar lighting. And so we weren't really setting, when we came up with our invention, we didn't really think in our heads like, okay, we're gonna start a business, let's get a business plan, let's do like step A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like go down the list like that. We were just sort of like, okay, we think this is interesting. Do we think it could help people? Yes. And then we sort of just like kept taking it one, like the next step and the next step. And I think that there's always two takeaways from me for like in thinking back, and they're completely opposite, which is to say, like, a lot of this for me has been just putting one foot in front of the next. You know, like you can get really overwhelmed with like big plans, but I think if you break things down into smaller steps, that you'll end up being able to just like accomplish things and like take things as they come, and not necessarily get as overwhelmed as you would if you thought about it like, oh my gosh, I have to build this like enormous business and I don't know what I'm going to do next. But then on the other hand, the other takeaway was that I don't know that we were necessarily as intentional as we could have been about saying like, this is a business, we're going to start this business. We need a plan, we need a team, and like putting the framework around it, just because we weren't necessarily sure what we had at the time. And so I think the takeaway there is also, though, even though you're going to want to do things one step at a time, do it with intention, and have confidence in yourself and your ideas to kind of take big jumps, at least in terms of your commitment to the work. So that was basically the story of how we got started. And then I sort of also realized at the time, even though I was in design school, that I was also interested in other things. And to be honest, a lot of what I would call like more boring things. So design school is really fun, or I thought I wanted to be an architect. And what's nice about that is it's, you know, you're building, literally like building things, but it's also just like, you get a lot of skills in terms of like, we used to draw, like computer aided drawing, or we used a whole bunch of other like really fun programs that even to this day we use in like marketing capacity at LuminAID, or it's fun to just like design things like websites or graphics. But on the other hand, I just also realized that I was interested in, I guess, some of the like more boring subjects at school or in business. So it's just like project management or finance, and that sort of thing. And so I took a little bit of a turn, and decided I wanted to study like business and management, and that's what brought me to Chicago. And while I was in school, we continued to sort of build LuminAID, sort of one prototype at a time. We launched it through a crowdfunding campaign, which is another, like, I think, kind of thing to keep in mind if somebody's starting a business that has to do with a product, or, I mean, the universe that is, this was 2012, so crowdfunding today is like huge. And so I always think it's like an option that somebody can think of if you're like, okay, I have this idea, but I don't have the capital to like fund the next step or the manufacturing. Maybe crowdfunding is potentially an option in some cases. So I just like keep it in mind as a tool. And so then we realized actually through that crowdfunding campaign that we had like more of a global audience for our invention than we had realized before. And so I think that really helped us understand the potential for it, which is another, like, I think really nice thing about doing something like a crowdfunding campaign is you're gonna end up talking to people who are like as good at customers at the time as we had, you know, people who were like supporting our idea early on. And then you also can get like a lot of feedback about the potential for things too. And then that sort of like was our first big official launch into making more of our solar lights. We started partnering with charitable organizations in places where people lacked electricity, also so we could field test our product. Because one of the things that we realized is we were just two people living in our own world. Definitely we didn't have issues with electricity. Obviously we live in a place you turn on the lights. So we wanted to understand what it was like for people who really needed to rely upon our lights to use them. And so we got a lot of really good feedback from organizations early on. And then we sort of also started at sometime around the time, like our e-commerce website. So that's another, I think, just like thing to keep in mind, especially these days. Like e-commerce is such a gateway, I think, to reaching your own audience. And it definitely requires work. Like you have to build like your marketing base, and marketing really is everything, I think, as it relates to e-commerce. But it was still really exciting, even like the first few orders that we shipped, or at least the ones that I always joke like weren't to our moms at the time. It's almost Mother's Day, so it's funny to think about that. But like the first few strangers I remember that bought off our website, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a thing. Like somebody's heard of LuminAID and like decided to put through an order. And then I'm going to fast forward a little bit because you mentioned Shark Tank. So when we were on Shark Tank, a lot of people ask how we ended up on the show. And I always say, like, we were actually just fans of the show. So we applied on abc.com. It was a while ago. That would have been like 2013 or 14, I think. And at the time, like that was actually the way that people did get on the show. There was just a website form on ABC. Now, I think the show casts a much wider net in terms of their, like, how you can get on the show. There's a lot of different ways I think people apply. But yeah, we were like pleasantly surprised when we got contacted. And I think that from Shark Tank's point of view, we had an interesting story. I mean, I don't know, I haven't done the statistics, but I also don't know like how representative, like how many businesses they had with like female founders or like female partner founders, but I don't think it was like that many, at least up to like season 6. So I think that, plus we also, and I think they wanted to commit to more diversity in the show in general and have done a good job of that. And then they also, I think we just had an interesting story, just because we had this product that had been used, you know, in like unique situations in the world. And so there was just a kind of back and forth with producers. Eventually we filmed, and then we made a deal with Mark Cuban, who at the time was our first investor. And that was sort of the like Shark Tank experience. If people have questions, I'm happy to always like answer more, because I know people have, I don't know, like there's probably a lot more that people want to know about behind the scenes of the show. But it is real money, and it's a real investment deal. And so that was a very cool experience. We were really lucky to have it. And yeah, and then I think in terms of the past like couple years at LuminAID, we've really focused on expanding what we can in terms of our reach and distribution for humanitarian aid situations. So there's been a lot of like, I mean, even recent disasters that haven't necessarily made the headlines, but where our lights have been used, including like earlier this year, the earthquakes in Puerto Rico or Hurricane Dorian. And then, yeah, these days, I mean, we're just focused on expanding our like product line and finding as many customers as possible, because it's like the work on that front never really ends. So.
All right. Sorry. That was awesome. Thank you so much. And it's funny that you talked about crowdfunding, because Erin, that's kind of how we actually started talking, because she, you know, I was asking, I don't remember, we met in a Facebook group and talking about fundraising, and then we started messaging, and then she actually told me about her awesome crowdfunding endeavor. So I'll actually let her tell that story herself. Well, I think you're going to talk about it anyway, maybe not. But anyway, without further ado, I'll introduce Erin Minkley, and she's the founder and owner of Relativity Textiles. So take it away, Erin.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. So yeah, I've been nodding my head, Andrea, as you've been talking, because I started my business 5 years ago with and the way of doing it was through Kickstarter. So I did a Kickstarter campaign, and it was, I was in art school and taught college art for 2 years before starting my business. So I related to that as well. And having been trained as an artist, I really didn't know what I was going to do with my life after I graduated from school. And I loved screen printing. And I kind of fell into wallpaper, and that's a really long story of how I got there. But I basically quit all my jobs one day and did like the ballsiest thing, which was ask all of my friends on Facebook for $20,000. And each of them donated various amounts, and I had all these like intricate levels that you could donate. And yeah, I raised $20,000. I went over my goal actually in 50 days. And with that, I was able to pay for a lot of the startup costs and build my e-commerce website, get my LLC established, produce a certain amount of samples of the, I didn't even mention what I do. I make wallpaper. I design and manufacture wallpaper. And it's all my artwork that are the patterns that go onto the wallpaper. And so it was really kind of a pipe dream originally. And I had so many people that said things like, wow, I never really thought you would do something like this. I was like, thanks. I don't think you hear a lot of success stories of artists who become business owners, who become brands, who become, you know, published in magazines. And really the wallpaper was just sort of a way for me to take my ideas that I was making art about and turn them into a product. And I didn't even know tons of interior designers or who to market it to. So I had to really do my homework to try and figure out who who was going to buy this product if it wasn't just my mom, as you said. And so it's funny because here I am 5 years later, and I'm kind of a slave to my business. I am the accountant and the janitor and the lead salesperson. And I've hired various assistants along the way, and I've had different interns that have helped me make this machine work. My dog is barking in the other room, so I might have to like run over there really quick and let her out. But you know, I'm also raising 2 sons, and I have a 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. I have my office at home. And when COVID hit, I was like, holy cow, what am I going to do? I'm going to have to be a 3rd grade teacher, a kindergarten teacher, run a business, and all of those things all on top of each other. And so it really was like a serious change of mentality for me, because, you know, I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but you really have to like filter through what's important and decide, what am I going to be able to achieve today, and everything else just kind of rolls over to tomorrow or falls off the plate altogether. And so I think, you know, Andrea, you summarized it really well. You're like, okay, I have 2 takeaways. And I was like, okay, what are my takeaways from all of this? And really, since the very beginning, my number one advice to anyone who's considering entrepreneurship, considering creating a product line, or considering going into business for themselves is ask for help. If you're a single mom, or not even a mom, or a mom with a partner, honestly, I could not be doing this without like a slew of assistants, and from all different directions, whether it's a nanny or an office manager, or with the crowdfunding and accepting donations from people. Like, it is really hard to accept help. And I know you're shaking your head right now, like, yep, because when you decide to ask for money from people it's so humbling, because you're like, well, I can't do it without you. And I think as moms, we want to be able to do it all. And when we don't, we feel guilty about it. As if some other mom down the block is running a business and being a 3rd grade teacher and a chef and being able to clean the house with ease and grace, but I'm the only one that can't. That's the thought that goes through your head, is like, that you feel less than perfect if you can't manage all those tasks yourself. But the reality is, none of us can do everything that we want to achieve without asking for help. And so I really think that that has been key on my journey, is just enlisting as many people and personnel as possible, and learning how to outsource the things that you don't have the expertise to do. Like, I learned how to do QuickBooks and keep all of my own bookkeeping. But I'm finally at a point where I can have someone else do that now. I designed my own website for the first time, 2nd time, 3rd time, doing all my edits in the back end and really wrecking my brain. It's not the part that I like. But finally, I'm at a point where I can outsource that too. And so I think I was just taking notes on a business call, business seminar just a couple days ago, and I wanted to share this with you guys because I'm going to forget one. I'm looking through my notebook. But they talked about the 4 Ds. And the first one is do, like, what are the things that you can do? The second one is what types of things can you defer? Like, put that off till fall when COVID is done. Can it wait? 3 is delegate. So who can I find to give this task to that will do it with efficiency, and I'll get my time back? And then dump. Like, we all know one woman who's trying to like be a real estate agent and also running a shop and also, you know, selling cookies. Like, you can't do all the things. There are going to be moments when you have to dump something and say, it's just not important to me, or it's just, I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. I'm participating in PTA because I just want to be an exemplary mom, but I don't freaking have time. And I was the co-chair of spring cleaning last year, so I have no business doing that. Like, I'm literally strapped for time as it is. So those are the 4 Ds: do, defer, delegate, and dump. And I think that those are the kinds of things that you have to realize about yourself, that you're not a superhero. You don't have 8 arms, and you're not going to be able to probably do all the things all by yourself.
Yes. I'm not muted. Okay, wait. Thank you, Erin. I have a question, and either you or Andrea can actually feel free to answer. I don't know, what would you say has been like the most challenging thing, I guess, let's just say as a mother or as a woman, like being in, you know, business and having to compete maybe with, you know, other men or something like that?
There's a lot of challenges there. There's like a whole long list, but I think the challenge for anyone, no matter your gender, no matter who you are, and no matter how much money you have to start out with, or no matter what type of business you're running, is mindset. And you talked about it a little bit, but I have a professional coach that helps me with business and also personal stuff. And I have a therapist, and I read lots and lots of books. I think mindset is probably the #1 hurdle, at least for me. And I see it all the time with women that are like, oh, I really just wish I could have done that. Or I have a law degree, but my kids came first. Or, you know, like there's always these side conversations that you're having in your own internal
like
dialogue. Yeah, and you're almost like in your own way.
Yeah.
You're not allowing yourself to do something, or you're not feeling deserving of it, or you have an imposter syndrome. Like, I still have that. And so, yeah, the mindset piece is for sure for me the biggest thing.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. What about you, Andrea? What would you say has been like the most challenging thing since I know you've been in business for quite a while, so what would you say is like has been your most challenging issue so far?
I do feel like there's something every day, I suppose. Also, I wanted to apologize for my lighting situation. I realized like this is the worst time of day. Like I can't block out the outside light, so there's this weird halo.
Yeah, halo.
Yeah, sorry. It's like the worst. Sorry about that. So I think probably one of the I think there's 2 things that come to mind. Like one, when you actually do in your own business, like you should just be prepared to have to like manage a little bit of everything, but maybe not necessarily feel like you've got like one thing handled all at the same time, because it just requires like, I think, so much of like a range of different types of activities, especially like Erin touched upon this, like early on when you have no one but yourself to pretty much do everything. So, and even with a partner, I think both of us probably like were in that mindset where you just like had to like manage like 5 to 6 different types of things a day. And who can really, I mean, I don't think that it's reasonable that like any one person is good at everything, right? So you just have to accept that fact. Like the sooner you accept it, I think the sooner you'll like feel okay when something feels like it's not done, or not done as well as you wanted it to be done. And then I think the second thing that comes to mind is that like perfection really is the enemy of like productivity. I guess I kind of just said that in my first point, but it's sort of like, I think that's really hard because obviously everybody wants to just like do their best and try their best. And so you really shouldn't judge yourself by, I think, like if you feel like you failed or not. You just have to like kind of keep going and be forward thinking, and learn from your things you would have done differently if you had done it over. It's like really the only thing you can do. You just can't dwell on the past.
That's great advice.
Yeah, well, I like to think that I like live by that, both of those things, but it's like you constantly have to like relearn them as well, which is one of the hardest
things. I could see that. I know I'm at the stage where I'm doing everything by myself, and I feel like constantly overwhelmed. Like, oh, I wish I had somebody else to help me with this, but I'm like, this is the way it is in the beginning. To keep telling myself that. Okay. LaTonya, did you have any questions or anything?
I do. Let's just, so I have one and then I'll save the rest for the end. But Andrea, I was curious, besides just being, I'm a big Shark Tank fan. And can you tell us what else being on Shark Tank did for your business besides just the investment?
Yeah, for sure. That was, I mean, like I said, we were so lucky to have the opportunity, and it was basically like you got a 8 to 10 minute commercial in front of like the entire like Shark Tank watching audience, which is like, I don't know, I think a lot of people watch that show. The season we were on, it was like the most watched season from what I know. I haven't kept up necessarily. So it's just like you get this like free commercial in front of millions of people. And for us as well, I mean, we had this product that, I mean, now we have different types of lights, so the price range is a little bit different, but at the time, our lights were basically like $20. And so like when people were sitting at home just looking us up, they were also just buying our product at the same time, I think because it was like a price point that sold well, TV. So obviously it was just like a huge boost in sales, and you like acquire all these new customers. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty magical in terms of like what it can do for a small business like LuminAID.
Awesome. Sounds like an amazing experience.
Yeah, and I have to say the show was really like, they were very friendly towards us in terms of like us telling our own story about why we started the company, and we wanted to do it to like help people in tough situations. And so like they gave us sort of like what's it called, airtime, to be able to like also tell that story. It wasn't just all the like fighting with the sharks or however that usually goes down. So
Nice. I have a question. Do you still like keep in touch with anybody from the show or anything? Like, I know like Mark gave you a deal, but do you like keep in contact with him, or was it just like one and done? You met him like one time or whatever when you were working together and that was it?
Oh no, Mark is like really involved, and also he's really good over email. We don't email him enough, to be honest. It's actually on us. But and he's really helpful, but I don't think he like is in it to sort of like take over your business at all. He's sort of like there to help as you need it, and he's very responsive. Yeah, I think we got lucky also because he's really supportive of our social mission. So even like when disasters happen and stuff, sometimes we just donate inventory because people need help faster sometimes than like traditional other ways of getting them the lights like would matter. So as a company, sometimes you just ship donated product, and he's not the kind of investor that would be like, why did you do that, you know, or anything like that. So kind of just like lets us make decisions like that too, which is really nice, and he's really supportive of that.
That's really, really cool. Very cool. All right. So I guess we'll keep it moving. And then we're gonna introduce LaTonya Wilkins, the keynote speaker. Hope you guys enjoy what LaTonya has for us today. So LaTonya, take it away.
Yeah, sure. So I want everybody before I start to turn on their camera and give me their best power pose while I'm pulling this up. So if you could just give me your best power pose, taking up some space, and folks online, give me yours too. See that power pose? So I'm going to talk today about navigating a new normal, and this is really a discussion for us, and it's something that we are all in a situation of, and I want us all to think of ourselves as superheroes and as astronauts, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the astronauts in just a minute. So a little bit about me. I'm sure Jennifer shared some information. So I'm a keynote speaker. I'm all about community. So this has been nice to hear from other women and how they run their businesses. One of the ways I also participate in the community is I teach classes at the Geese College of Business at the University of Illinois. And so I miss that. I miss that community of students. and that community of of learning incubation. And I also work with companies to create meaningful awareness and change. So I want everybody to look at this picture here and just take a minute. We've all had a long week, right? We've all been in a lot of Zoom sessions and we're feeling burnout. And so what do you see in this picture?
It looks tired, or she just finished doing something.
Okay. What else? What do you see?
She's walking away from something like she just finished something.
Yeah. So here we have, and when I talked about astronauts, so thinking of ourselves as astronauts. So in this picture, this astronaut is in a new land, right? There's nothing around. There's no buildings. There's no habitat. We don't even know where the water or the food or the necessities are. We don't see any of that. But we see someone, as Jennifer said, that's maybe tired. That's probably been exploring a lot, right? That's kind of feeling a little beaten down, right? And so this is the metaphor I'm going to use today. That's where a lot of us are. Like, we're in this land that we're just discovering, and we really don't know what's next. So we're all astronauts in this matter. So I want all of you, if you were an astronaut and you were on Mars, what would be the first thing that you would do? And I want you just to jot that down. Okay, you're an astronaut, you're by yourself, you're on Mars. What would you do? And I want you to write that down. You don't have to share with the group. But I will say, if you're someone that wrote this, if you're someone that wrote down necessities, then that tells you a lot about how you'll navigate this new normal, right? That means in this new normal, you're going to care about necessities, right? You're going to care about, where am I going to get my water? Where am I going to get my food? We were having a conversation about this earlier today. Some people are just concerned about the money, right? The necessities, the food, the water. How am I going to feed my children? How am I going to feed my family? Okay. If you wrote down something like, oh my gosh, I just want to see what's out there in the land. I might want to grow some crops and cultivate. Then you're going to be more apt to think about innovation or inventions. So write that down and come back to that, because that's going to tell you a lot about how you're going to navigate this new normal. Also, I want you to think about any norms that you will break. So write that down. So think about this new normal, right? So one normal that we break, or one norm we've already broken, is some of us are mothers on this call, is that we're probably not caring that we're mothers and we're bringing our children to work, right? Whether people like it or not. So we're breaking norms, right? We're breaking norms in that we are also, we're cutting our days short, right? That we're breaking norms. So there's a lot of things that we're doing right now where we're breaking norms. So I want you to write that down. There might be a dress code where you usually work or where you usually go, and you're breaking that norm. You're going to work a little bit more authentic. So I want to empower us all. And the reason why I had everybody do their power pose is because I want you to think about, what are you going to do? What norms are you going to break as we're in this? So these are the 3 keys to navigating a new normal. And I'm going to spend the rest of the time talking about these 3 keys. The first one is don't overreact. So that's a big one. We're going to come back to what that means. Become eager to empower people, and I'll give you some examples of what that looks like. And then we're all going to create our new normal. And we all started with some data points, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like. So first off, overreacting. So how many of you have seen at least some of these headlines? So every day we're getting several notifications to our phone. These are some of the ones that have stuck out to me. So we're seeing all of our retail stores go out of business, right? And we're getting those every day. Started with J. Crew, now it's Neiman Marcus. Now we're hearing about unemployment every day. Every day we're hearing about unemployment, how the money's going to run out, and we're just hearing, it's just doom and gloom, doom and gloom, doom and gloom. And these are the headlines that we're hearing. And this is everything that's coming to our phones, right? And so one thing I want to encourage us all to do is just not to overreact. While these things are going on in the world, and I don't want to tell you to ignore it, right? These things are important, but it's important not to overreact. And one of the things that I've been telling, I'm also an executive coach, and one of the things I talk to my clients about is just be an observer while we're going through this. Try to be an observer of what's going on. for example, we are seeing retail stores go out of business, right? And we know it's a fact. We are seeing businesses go out of business, like local businesses. We're seeing a lot of different things happen right now. Okay, so we're observing. We're seeing a lot of people at home for the first time. So instead of overreacting and fearing that, just really take it in and take it in as a new cue. For those of you that when we were talking about the astronaut and what is most important to you, if you're someone that cares more about innovation, then you're going to see this as a time that is a golden time for you to change. And if you're someone that thinks about necessities, then you might be more likely to overreact. So really check yourself on that. The second thing is becoming eager to empower. And that's one of the things we're all doing today. We're all together empowering each other, and we're trying to be there for each other and create community. So I want to share a real email that I've gotten on LinkedIn recently. And I've gotten, I would say, dozens of these. So this person reached out to me and basically said, this is who I am. I am a best-selling author. I am all that, and you need to buy something from me, okay? That is not the way to react in a pandemic. That is not a way to empower someone. And so I want us all to challenge each other and rethink how we're trying to relate to people, because this is not how you do it. So I want everybody to think about, how can you empower someone else? I mean, we're empowering other people today. I mean, Andrea, we have some other speakers here that, typically this is something that we would charge for, right? Or we would, Andrea, she's been on, Shark Tank, and she's gotten, investments from Mark Cuban. But we're not charging for this because this is an opportunity to empower other people. And this is the time to use that skill for that. Someone came to me a few weeks ago and they asked me about my speaking business and how was I charging for my speaking business. And I told that person, hey, a lot of speakers, we're giving things away for free or for way reduced cost. Because right now we're just trying to help. So really think about your intentions and how you can empower people in these times. The third key is creating your new normal. And as you see here, this is construction worker trying to put the bricks in place to create this new normal. And the story I have that I'll talk about is, does anybody know what this bird is? It's called the great tit. And the great tit is a bird, it's native to the UK, okay? And a couple years ago, people were seeing that their beaks were getting longer, okay? The great tit birds are usually, they're a favorite of bird watchers in the UK. And so they eat out of bird feeders. And so they're seeing that their beaks were getting longer due to natural selection. And so with this, when you're thinking about this, we also are going to evolve with natural selection over the next few months with COVID-19. We're going to have to adjust. We're going to have to adjust, how we run our businesses. We're going to have to adjust to what we eat. I mean, we're thinking about supply chains, and we've been hearing a lot about meat supply and, going to the store, it's hard to find tortillas, different food supplies. So we are going to have to adjust. And Jennifer, you're laughing, but tortillas are a necessity for me, right? So I need my tacos. So, but these are things, right? Yeah, right. We have to adjust to these things. And so I want you to think about, how will you adjust? And with these birds, with the great tit, now with anytime a new bird reproduces and their offspring hatch, the ones with the smaller beaks actually don't live. They don't live as long as the ones with the longer beaks. So this is something, again, take this in your head and think about your own evolution. What do you need to do to evolve in order to adjust to COVID-19? So like I said, this is a new normal, and these are just a few stories. But one of the things in the last story that I'll end with is that great leaders inspire greatness in others. And this is a note I got from someone that was in one of my workshops. And she sent me this quote, and she told me that that's something that I did for her, and that's the mission that she wanted to carry on. Okay, I'm not doing this for myself. I'm doing this for the goodwill of the rest of us, as Jennifer said, really empowering others and putting this out there for others. And anything that I share today that you took away as valuable, I'm not expecting a pat on the back. I'm expecting that you take it to someone else and inspire that greatness in others and also empower that person, not necessarily sell to them. So that's it. So this is me, and I just want you to think about this. We don't have to go around, but just think about one aspect of your new normal. Like, what does your new normal look like? And you could come back to this and reflect on it. But this is what's really important. Think about how you reacted and responded to some of the things I put on the screen today. And this is my information, and Jennifer will put this also in the Facebook Live in the chat. And so that's all I have. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, LaTonya. So, all right. All right, so I think Erin, she got kicked off the call. She said she was trying to come back in. So I guess we'll just open this up, right? What time is it? Yeah, we're still on time, right?
Yeah, we have like 5 minutes or so. Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I guess did anybody, Joanna or anybody wanted to ask anybody questions? I think I had more questions.
Thanks, Regina. Anybody on Facebook Live have any questions? Thanks, Regina, for the comment.
Yeah, thank you, Regina. I didn't know that you were here. Thanks for tuning in. God, I had a question for Andrea too, but I forgot what it was. I'll think of it. Gina, did you have any questions? Anybody on Facebook have any questions for Andrea?
So Regina wants the Instagram contact information. So Andrea, can you put your Instagram and your contact information in the group chat? And then Jennifer, if you want to pass it on to everybody else, and I'll give you mine as well. So.
Thank you, Shelley. Yes, we are trying to stay positive, as positive as we possibly can be. That I was going to ask Andrea, it's in my head, I swear. Oh, and by the way, LaTonya, in my answers that I wrote down, I put sleeping in and sleeping in my PJs, working in my PJs. That's not normal, obviously. So yeah, and normally.
Oh, sorry, I got that wrong.
Oh.
LuminAID friends.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'll put this in the chat in Facebook. Okay, cool.
Okay, so, and then, yeah, so thank you for that. Okay, 15%. So, Andrea, sorry. So what kinds of products should we buy? Because it sounds like, like the flashlights, I was looking at the flashlights and a couple other things, but what do you suggest that would be good for us?
Let's see. I think, so it depends on what you're kind of looking to do with the lights. So obviously right now there aren't a lot of people going camping necessarily. But I think, let's see, we have, just going down the list on our site, Mother's Day is coming up. We still have shipping options if people want to like ship lights to their moms.
Good idea.
And so we have a product called the Packlight Firefly phone charger. And it's one of my favorite ones. It's sort of like, has like a warm glow to it. A lot of our other lights are like just white light, but this one has like more of a like a yellow candle flicker kind of thing. And it's got this like shiny finish to it. So it's kind of cool for like Zen mood lighting. I don't know if somebody wants to like relax, meditate. And then it's a team favorite for sure. And then we also have like a category of lights that charge phones in general. And I think those are really good for even just like your own home emergency kit. And everything also charges using a USB. So you can charge it up real quick, even if you want to like charge it up and store it for use later. So got some sirens.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out. I think the site's really neat.
It is. I was looking at it earlier and I was just like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Oh, Andrea, you know what? That's what I was going to ask. Can you tell everybody how you give back to the community I know you did mention that you guys like donate stuff, but you guys have a lot of, I see you have a lot of like philanthropic endeavors that I would like to share with everybody.
Yeah, so we have a program on our site called Give Light, Get Light. And it's actually, I mean, we're running the program, but it's customer supported. So it's like a place where customers can also sponsor lights that will work with, I mean, due to the fact also that we've just been around for a while, we've established a really great list of charitable partners that do work in, sometimes they do work all over. And then sometimes they're more like local organizations in a specific place that might be prone to like particular disasters or that sort of thing. And so we work with them, and they basically are distribution partners, and they like spread these lights across people who benefit from their projects and programs. And sometimes like we have a featured partner. So it's always worth like checking back, because we do all sorts of different, like all the organizations have different causes. So there's like organizations that support healthcare in areas that don't have really great access to healthcare, and also the healthcare workers themselves need lights. Education is a big one. Obviously, like kids need something to study at night in places where they don't have electricity. I always joke that I don't know if they love our lights, if it means they have to do their homework. And yeah, so all sorts of different like causes, I think, are supported through solar lights. So that's really what we're trying to help. It's usually people who are doing other things, and so they need a light to like help them do whatever it is that they are setting out to do. So it's kind of in the background, but it's one of my favorite things about LuminAID is just that like solar lighting can really support so many different things in the world. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions before we wrap it up? Hi, Erin. See you're back. Welcome back.
Sorry, my internet somehow, I don't know what happened.
That's okay.
Jennifer, my question is, why did you laugh at my need for tacos?
Because I have a specific brand that I prefer, and
Oh,
it
yeah,
has
I
been
know.
in stores for like a few weeks now, and my boyfriend's been buying other kind, and I'm like, why do you keep getting this kind? He's like, the other ones aren't here, and I couldn't figure out why. So we've been eating a lot of flour tortillas because that seems to
Oh,
be.
I don't like flour. Yeah.
Yeah, I normally eat corn, but you know, new world, right? We have to.
Yep, yep.
I thought that was hilarious, just because I'm like, you're right. There's like never any tortillas left.
Gotta pivot from the corn tortillas or buy a different brand.
Flour. Yeah. All right, cool. So I think that's it. Unless anybody else had any questions, we can wrap it up. But I just wanted to thank Andrea and Aaron and LaTonya for doing this event. I appreciate it. You guys all did great, and I think it was all inspiring and empowering to other women. So thank you so much. And I hope you guys.
Thanks, everybody. This was great. I
Thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
us, Jennifer.
Now we know that we can do Zoom calls on Facebook Live. Who knew? All right, everybody. Thank you and take care. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.